Okay, I will talk about this quantitative finance interview prep that I'm taking on Qcfinance.in, and we'll be looking at the interview formats for quantitative finance. My focus here are interviews that are for quant equity or for financial risk or fixed income or derivatives. So uh, these are the things that I'll be talking about now. Giving and passing these interviews, even if you are the mid of your career, becomes very important because the demand of quant makes it challenging for you to crack those positions, and also because whenever you go at whatever stage for an interview, you have to still go back and answer some questions of programming and maths and aptitude and quiz and all of those things. So most of that thing remains the same, and that's where you need a scientific way to prepare for these interviews, because going there without preparation or without having a strategy, without making a game plan is very risky for your career, and it's very tough to get going into these round of interviews. So you would definitely like to make the most for these kind of interviews. Making a strategy, doing it systematically and scientifically is my goal here. So with that in mind, I have prepared the content into 5 classes. I have made sure that I have people who are expert in those subjects, but not necessarily uh, a quantitative guy. So of course, as a quant guy, you cannot specialize in all of them. A quant guy from an engineering physics would have a less background of say programming like R and SAS, which does not involves much of those kind of things. If somebody is into programming and he has started and ended his career in programming, he might not be aware about things that are more into maths. So of course you cannot know all of these topics, and that's where it becomes important. So my idea would be to help you revise all of these topics in a very scientific and a crisp manner, so that when you go into the interview and when you get a question or you are asked to speak about these topics, you have some idea on how you can link these things into your work and in the new role as well. So the first session which I would like to take is on the course and how to make a plan for your interview prep. The second would be soft quantitative aspects in finance and news, and this quant would be the quant that is seen in finance and not really the hardcore quant that involve engineering maths. So this would be a little soft quant kind of an aspect. A broad syllabus of this could be found in CFA, FRM, CMT, those kind of an exams. Then another session on all those modeling tools, knowing a little bit about each of them is a little helpful, because even if you're not looking at these things into your current role, maybe the next role might ask you whether you have or you know about these things. So that's where it becomes important. So most of the times Excel and VBA are the most common things here, but as things are getting more complicated in fixed income derivatives, you might be asked to know MATLAB and R, and if you're going into those kind of risk roles, then again a little bit of SAS is required. So knowing a little bit of them, or at least making sure in the interview that you can learn these things quickly, is going to be helpful for you. The fourth part is calculus and C++. This is something that you have not seen in the recent times. So calculus and C++ are a little technical thing here. I'll try to keep it simple, like understanding calculus as area under curve and some of those topics of C++. Even if these things are not required, they become a part of the interview process sometimes, where the interview process is more streamlined and is decided pre-hand. The last would be a soft revision of puzzles and qualitative aspects, like why this company and some challenges that you have taken care of and things like that. So this is the broad plan of this quant finance interview. Uh, uh, of course, the fifth session would be something like what do you know about our company, what can you do for us, why do you want to work for us, why are leaving your current company, what are things like that. So That's where it becomes important. Another area is again from the class 1 that you need to understand the different kind of interviews. So hedge fund interview is very different from an interview say of a stress testing or a risk area. Also you can differentiate it in terms of buy side and sell side. So an investment banking which wants to sell some loans or some merger and acquisition is very different from an asset management company. So both of them are very different, and both of them requires a little uh, different skill set and a little different interviews. So generally sell side investment banking or working for Qcfinance advisory in a bank which advises on loans and things like that, that might be so for a hedge fund which is selling things, you might be required a lot of Excel, whereas for a very specific job in SAS or big data, the requirement would be different. So hedge fund interview would talk about those things which are used in decision making in understanding those products. A typical interview would be something related to these Excel and VBA stuff. The other would be pricing, and the third would be probability and math. So in the very basic round, this is like the first round, just after a telecon would ask you based on these things. If you're going to a sell side firm, maybe somewhere where you have to invest some money, again in those kind of places you will get questions like the factor analysis, probability, questions on yield curve, policy of central bank, again flipping dice and all those things. Now whatever the question that you will get, you can get an answer to these questions from the CFA syllabus. That would be an abstract kind of a reply that how you're going to use these theories in finance, or you can get a more technical or a statistical kind of a reply depending on your background and what you're really aiming at. So in general, three rounds of interview would be like programming, which could be like C++ or VBA or Excel or whatever, and probability and finance. The finance question would talk about models used in fixed income and derivatives and all those pricing mechanism. The finance question could also be talking about derivative, Greeks and exotic option, and how the exotic option Greeks would change as compared to the European and the American options. And of course in these kind of firms which are investing in assets, like 60 to 70% or 80% sometimes they would invest in fixed income. So fixed income becomes important in an asset management company. The other dimension that you need to work is what you are actually doing now. So most of the times you will get questions on what you are currently doing and how does that link to the role that you are applying for. So you should be aware of each and every word that you are using in your resume. Not knowing that creates a very bad impression, and this has been a pitfall of like 80 to 90% of failed interview where you're not able to justify that word. So this could go even back to a project that you did like a decade ago. So you should be still knowing a fair amount of that project to talk about that. So if you're working currently in models that involve regression, if you're working currently in models that involve Monte Carlo, if you're working currently in something that involves VBA, if you're currently working that involves knowledge of market, how the market is behaving, and what are the investment options that people are doing, and what are the risks in the market today, that becomes important. If you did a MATLAB 5 years ago, you should know a little bit about that. So you cannot just justify that you know about the last role. So that's where it becomes important. The next video I am talking about the 5 books for Quant interview, and in details about how to study these books, which one is good, which one is bad, and how I use these books for my course, and I recommend them to my students.